So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Happy to have you all here for this webinar today on the topic of build unified experience 4 times faster. My name is Oscar, CX Technologist with Occtoo. Before I start, I have 3 important bullets of information to share. Firstly, you are all muted. Secondly, love to get questions anyhow. So the chat is open, so feel free to pop any questions in there. I will try to answer them as I go through the presentation or finish up in the end with the questions I have time for. If there are more questions to be answered, we will answer them by email after the webinar. And thirdly, this webinar is being recorded. So if you want to share it with any colleagues, friends, anything afterwards that you think this could be of interest of, feel free to share it with them. So putting myself in the context, why am I here talking about building unified experiences? Well, I've been with Occtoo now for a little bit over 2 years, but before I was with Occtoo, I spent close to 15 years with a commerce agency / system integrator. And through the later years working there, we realized that we had to do something completely different in terms of how we were building digital experiences, because every project became a big IT project, a big integration project, and we felt that there must be a way to do something different. With this experience, I decided to join Occtoo 2 years ago, but I'm not here to talk about me or Occtoo to that extent either. I'm here to give you some ideas and tips on how you can increase your velocity to make you enable more digital experience much faster. But to give you a little bit of context of Occtoo, so what we believe in, what we want to accomplish as a company is that we want to make sure that digital teams are data autonomous. We don't want digital teams out there with good progressive customers companies that they should feel limited by data, because we also want to help companies unlock creativity and sort of unleash innovation, meaning that they should be an opportunity to put so many more ideas into the market by building new types of apps, optimizing experiences much time faster, working with the data that you have on your customers, on your content, on your products. And thirdly, helping companies be relevant everywhere, because relevance is a big topic when you talk about digital customer experiences. But there is so much more that can be done here to create relevance across multiple touch points, multiple channels, as that your customers are facing you as a company in. So the main topic of today is that through my experience and what we have seen with our customers is that we see that there are 3 main challenges, or 3 important challenges that sort of slows down what we call experience unification or experience development. First one is integrations, meaning that basically every time you want to do something new, either whether it's like replatforming your e-commerce solution, or if it is launching a new type of app, or if it's enabling a digital sales tool that your sales rep can use in or out of the store or anything like that, it tends to become a large integration project, because you tend to integrate system point to point. And that is a big challenge because it eats a lot of budget out of your projects and makes it harder to execute multiple projects or more projects. A second challenge is data silos, because when you're going to build some sort of digital experience for your customers or your internal teams, there is a lot of different data that you need. And this data tends to be coming out of multiple systems to which you need to get data out of to get it out to the front-end experience or the UI that you want to deliver out when you're going to build a new experience. And thirdly, another challenge that we have seen is that the relevance that you have the possibility to enable becomes quite limited. Many people tend to put an equal between relevance and personalization becomes like product recommendations. There are many good product recommendations engines out there. There are many good content recommendation engines, but they are optimizing oftenly per channel. So as an example, it tends to not go create relevance across multiple channels as your customers move along there, or it also tends to be that you build one type of experience that you try to suit like every type of customer, every customer profile, or every type of action that they're going to do. So these are sort of three challenges that we have seen. And I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into these ones before I come back with a recommendation on how you can resolve this. Firstly, we have this thing with silos in the front end, and which means that given what your customer want to accomplish when they have a touch point with you as a company, it tends to be different screen, different interaction points, different experiences that meet them. And these tends to be more or less optimized depending on what you want to accomplish. But many times, many digital teams are limited by the fact that it takes quite an effort to build new kind of experiences. Even if you look at, like, if we take it a consumer perspective, I mean, they will face you in the stores if you have such. On your e-commerce site, you might have a mobile loyalty app where they can interact with you. There might be customer service that need to support in some household service screens or experiences that they can use in stores as well. But if you also throw in like a B2B perspective, as we have many apparel brands out there that have both B2C and we also have resellers, retailers, if you put in those kind of experiences, well, there is a lot of places where you need to offer a relevant experience that's sort of based on the context and need of each unique customer across this journey. And hopefully you recognize this and you feel that, yeah, we have a lot of different touch points, or you just feel like, yeah, well, we invested heavily in this e-commerce solution. We tried to build everything into one main e-commerce. And that is probably due to the fact that it has been a big and heavy project to get that enabled. But there is new, smarter ways that you can how you can think in order to build more of these kind of experiences. The second part of the problem is that I said this data is locked into silos. Not only is it silos in the front end that sort of holds their data set where the customers interact or they build specific applications, it's also in the back end that you tend to, if you start thinking of what kind of data is it that you need to bring out to a UI or to an app or to a digital experience, you probably need at least data out of these four systems. So you need data out of your CRM or your CDP, you need data out of your ERP in terms of transactional information, you need PIM data, you need DAM data. And you also probably have a CMS somewhere around here. But again, it's data that you need, and often it's like hard to find all the data you need. It's hard to use them, but most and foremost, it's very hard to combine it. If you want to combine your CRM, your data on the customer with the data on the product to create in that intersection a more relevant experience, it becomes quite tricky. And the resolution to this, going back, is that, yeah, well, we start building point-to-point integration. You squeeze everything into your e-commerce platform, or you build like these kind of point-to-point integrations. And every time you're going to build some type of new experience, you're facing the same challenge over and over again. Personally, I have seen as much as, or tends to be that the normal state is that you put somewhere around 70 to 80% of a digital experience budget into just moving data between systems, which is horrible, because it should be the other way around. You should spend 20% of the data doing that and spend 70 to 80% of your budget into building or optimizing the UI, doing the process design, doing the UX and those kind of things, being much more faster to the market also could be another aspect. But you also have then the complexity in here. It's not only these kind of systems that we need data from, because in the composable architecture that's being introduced in the CX tech landscape, more and more best of breed tools are added to the stack continuously. And this creates a challenge for the digital teams in order to have access to all of this data in an easy and fast way without having to invest loads and loads of money in making this into integration projects. So this is a big challenge, that the data is locked into silos. There are many touch points that you needed. You probably could feel limited of not being able to enable more IDs. And again, the big problem that this leads to is that innovation dies. The commercial teams or the marketing teams or the commerce teams, they feel like every time we're going to do something new and cool, it tends to be this big project that takes somewhere to like 6 to 12 months to implement. And you sort of say, well, it's not worth it. We don't know. We don't have a fast way to do it. But luckily, there is a new way to think of this, because I'm going to introduce to you my 3-step recipe on how you can do faster CX projects. And the first tip, the first ingredient in this is that you need to stop wasting money on point-to-point integrations. And that means that you need to find a new strategy on how you actually access data from the backend systems and how you can easily get that data out to your front ends and to your digital experiences. And one thing is that you try to find a way on how you can enable a more holistic view on data, which means that giving you as digital teams more easy access to data without having to move data from one system into another system. Secondly, it's in terms of data silos. And data silos is a challenge, a problem, but it's also something that needs to be there, because you need a PIM system that's optimized for adding and enriching products. You need a CRM system to get a hold of like all the transactions or everything that you do around the customer. You might need a DAM system for working more with marketing assets and to work with sort of the editor perspective. And of course, you need an ERP. You need to have it all in there. And also, there is a lot of these good tools that you can actually utilize and deploy into the customer experience. Marketing automation tools, definitely should use that. But there is a lot of good data on the customers in there that you could actually take out and take back and maybe infuse that into your e-commerce experience. You also have very good like in-store solutions that you could use for dressing rooms, so in-store screens, and embrace the fact that yeah, they are there and they will create silos of data, but you need to make sure that you can take control of the data and that you can reuse that data across different channels and contexts. So it's not a bad thing. So you really should embrace that, but make sure, how can we make sure that we can reuse the data that's actually created in those systems? And thirdly, you need to start thinking of customer relevance, relevant customer experience, something beyond like product recommendations or hey, first name in an email. You need to think relevance everywhere and how you can actually adapt single experiences with known data. Maybe it's a niched campaign app that has shopping capabilities when you launch a new assortment, or you have a specific customer group that has a need that wants to sort of have a specific experience connected to what they want to do, and you might infuse shopping experience there. Think of new ways on how you can actually build more adapted experiences to really unleash relevance with more creativity. Think outside the box and not being limited to the existing solutions you already have. And explaining this a little bit more in depth, like enabling a holistic view of data, what I mean with that. At Occtoo, we have a saying of like turning enterprise data into experience data, which means that you need to find some way, some sort of layer, some sort of view on top of these backend systems that host the enterprise data to really make it easy for you to pick and choose the assets and the things that you need in order to deploy it out to a front end or an app. So really start thinking of how can you differentiate between these two dimensions. Looking at how can you turn your enterprise data into an experience data. And one thing could be like adding this kind of layer into your technology stack, that you really find a way on how you can easily unify the data that comes out of these silos and more easily reuse that data across channels. How do you make sure that you both get data out of your backend system out to the front ends, but also collecting the data and the insights that you get from all of these sessions, all of these interactions, and how you can actually bring that to life? And probably some sort of a middle layer is what we recommend here, that you have something that you can make more easily transform the quite heavy data in the backend to a more lightweight consumable format in the front end. Still having like your CMS and your commerce driving this experience, but you need this. A recommendation is to start looking at this third component that can really make it much, much easier and faster to get the data out to your different channels. Because also looking at what magic could actually happen if you can have the intersection of all of these three types of informations. You have data on your customer. If you can combine that with all the rich data around your product, and then also adapting the experience to the actual context that the user is in. Like if they're out at home browsing on a tablet or on a phone, going through your commerce site, they probably have one purpose. They might go over to if they're doing that on a mobile phone, they might bring out the tablet if they want more inspiration. If they're in store browsing on their mobile phone, it might be another type of experience that you want to enable there. Maybe also putting other types of product information out on the site, depending on who the customer is and what the intention is. And this is a lot more things that you can do if you can be more creative with data. You could, if you have access to all the data that you need in a much faster way. And one benefit of doing this is that when you have the data accessible in this kind of way, it's much easier to build like different types of CX features or apps much faster. Actually, even launching like MVP projects within weeks, because the front-end technology is so strong today that it takes no time to get the framework up and running. But then you need the data to fuel that kind of experience, to fuel the UI, and to really make that a really strong and good experience. So, and the result that we have seen with our customers following these three steps, you basically launch any idea within weeks, that it goes much more faster to do this, and you get a lot more creativity and effort out of your team. And now going a little bit more positioning us, it's a little bit because we are, Occtoo is an experience data platform. It's a tool that really sort of helps digital teams to build this kind of unified experiences with speed and scale, because we have capabilities in the platform how we unlock, relate, and expose data out to every type of device and front ends. And if you look at the benefits that customers are getting from an experience data platform, it's these three things. Basically, you have all the experience data unified, makes it much easier and faster to access it out to the front, to get it out to the front ends. And it makes it more possible to be relevant everywhere and launch experience faster, basically summarizing the benefits in there. And if we look at some examples of what some of our customers have been able to build much faster with this way of thinking, we have Cartier, which is one really strong client in the luxury section, that they are really launching experience after experience, app after app, deploying these kind of ways of thinking of how quickly they can improve the customer experience. So 3 examples here is that they've done an in-store mobile app that sort of helps sales associates to provide a better customer experience. So that is guided selling, niched way. They can pick up who the customer is and get recommendations for that specific customer in a very nice and good way, combining data from many different systems. We also have something called a mini site, which is Cartier, that they have sort of taken control of the experience of their brand on retailers and partners' site, which means that they actually own the experience on 400 external websites from their partners. So they actually have the capability now to push their products and their kind of data out there. Also an innovation that they came up with. This is something that we really need to do. But also if you zoom in a little bit more on the commerce aspect, their Japanese team had an idea that can't we sell wedding rings to brides through a niched experience? So they started collaborating with a digital agency, and in 1 month they went from ID to MVP launched, basically having the app up and running. All the data was in there, that tailored experience that they could really sort of enable, building like a very relevant shopping experience for a specific target audience. If they would have done this like without the experience data platform, it would have taken them 6 to 12 months was their indication. It would have costed them a whole lot more than that they were able to do it right now. So this is 3 examples of customer innovation. If we look at some other examples that might be more relevant to a commerce aspect, Phoenix Outdoor is one company that has sort of also taken this way of thinking, that they really have been able to launch a B2B e-commerce site much faster than they did before, with dynamic content serving out of multiple backend systems. So just to explain a little bit about what the experience platform does there, is that in order to get out the product information that they needed, they had information that came out of ERP, It also had information that they had stored in the PIM system. They also had additional information in a data lake. But instead of then building like point-to-point integrations from the commerce engine to all of these backend systems, we unified the data for them in the experience data platform, making it much easier for the commerce engine to consume what they need. The search engine could consume what they needed. We could feed with the rich product information, the unified 360 view of a product out to the front end directly. So that was also a good example of that. They also have partner portals for all their brands to provide their retailers with product content. And this is again also product content coming out of PIM systems, some additional information coming out of ERP, and also information coming out of digital asset management way of thinking. So it's also bringing those kind of marketing assets in there, a portal that makes it very easy for their retailers to download content and to onboard like Fjällräven products onto their commerce sites. And another thing that we also have, they also were able to enable was like the building this kind of custom content, like sort of shop-in-shop solution, where actually in the same site you have the possibility to configure a personalized backpack. And this again, you have thousands and thousands and thousands of combination and colors and things that they needed to have very easy access to, and what goes with what and what cannot fit into other kind of things. There was also something that sort of had a whole lot of other requirements on the amount of data and the type of data they needed to realize this. But there was also something that they were able to enable really fast. And also one thing that is also interesting, it's not only for like the external sort of parts of the customer journey, also providing internal sales tools. So we have one customer, Nordic Nest, that sort of had the problem in their customer service team that they had to go into 5 different systems to pick up different types of data, to the CRM, to the PIM, and other types of systems in order to get a full picture of what the customer was actually doing, and how then able to reply to customers in terms of if they had specific questions around products, etc. But they have then now been able to enable like this very lightweight client where they can basically get access to all the data out of all of these systems in one interface, bringing them a really good overview of how they can actually support the customer, what the customer could be asking for. We have a lot of different brands that we have, or in companies that we've been working with, both local and global companies. So we are very, very strong, specifically currently in the retail and consumer brands sector, but also have a few B2B clients in there that are sort of starting this journey also on their own. We also seen the proof in here that we have our customers saying that they really get this kind of value out of it. So this time, which I said 4 times faster, it's not a marketing gimmick. It's actually something that the customer themselves have measured, saying that with Occtoo, the project are done 3 to 4 times faster to get them out to the market. And they can even get this done, getting the MVPs done in 30 days because they have lightweight and easy access to this data. And last but not least, why should one invest in an experience data platform? Well, it is to minimize integration costs, because that's again said, stop building point-to-point integrations. It's launching 4 times faster because they have easy access to data, and then also that you get room for more creativity unleashed. So if you follow these 3 steps that I spoke of before, that start creating a more unified view on your data, making sure that you can easily share data across the different touch points, you can then really use your creativity to build more relevant experience much time faster, making it much easier to unify the experience as you unify the data. So that was sort of now I'm done with the sort of presentation, and I also see that we have a few questions that has come in already. Feel free to shoot if you have any more questions that you're thinking of. We have one. If you have a bad process from UL, sorry, if you have a bad process for adding product information in your systems today, can you edit product data in Occtoo, or is it just read only in Occtoo? We do have some capabilities of actually adding it. We are not a PIM system. I need to be clear with that. We are a system that the primary purpose is to read data from other systems and then exposing it out to other channels. But we do have use cases where customers have actually built a lightweight app for this. since we make it easy to unify data in and out, they've actually been, and also they've been able then to provide a very lightweight client that sort of is really adapted to onboard products. So yes and no, answer to your question, Joel. You can't do it specifically in Occtoo, but it's very easy to really tailor a specific UI, a specific app that has that purpose of actually just working with adding and enriching product. And then Occtoo can take care of making sure that all the systems that need the data will have it. So we can both unify and send it out as well. So that was a good question. Another question is from Carl. How are you different from a CDP? And CDP, for those of you that don't know that, that's a customer data platform. So a customer data platform is like the next generation of CRM that holds everything you need to know, giving you the 360 perspective of a customer. But it doesn't hold information on products. It doesn't hold information on transactional, on all the extended transactional information. So what we have, so CDP is actually something that is a source for Occtoo. So we're very happy if there is a CDP in place, because that gives us also the possibility to get much more information around a customer. So that's more of a source and not. And the difference then for us is that we can take that information and combine it with product information, transactional information, etc., to expose that much faster and easier. Another question is from Frank. Thanks for the presentation. What's for the demo? Once the data is in, it's usually not a problem. But how might Occtoo help accelerate ingestion of data? Is there different ways to do this batch in real time? And how would this work, for instance, for real-time pricing data, which is always a hassle? Yeah, so pricing data is something that is a really complex thing on their own. So there are basically two. Coming back to answering the question more specifically. So yeah, we help accelerate ingestion of data because we are completely independent of data model. So we don't have any fixed data model. And the thing that we have focused on heavily is to really have really fast onboarding of data into the system. So we can basically take any type of format you might already have. We can connect to existing APIs. We can even connect directly to databases to really fast get the data in. Specifically regarding the use case of pricing, it really depends on the complex requirements that you have regarding pricing. If there are customer-specific pricing pre-calculated, if it's pre-calculated and something that doesn't change that often, yeah, then it's fine. But if we also don't think that you should replicate all of these rules that could happen out of the ERP. So pricing is also something that sometimes we do have pricing data, sometimes we don't. It really depends on sort of the amount of needs and amount of customers and amount of products, etc. So it's yes, so that's something that we can definitely bring it in and use it. And then another question from you, well, is it possible to work in multiple languages of the content? Yes, it is. We support any type of language, any type of the language that you can get the data into the system. That's also possible. So with those words, I say thank you very much for listening. It's been a pleasure having all of you here. And I wish we will send out a recording of the webinar afterwards. Feel free to share it if there's anyone in your teams, any colleagues, any friends that you think this could be interesting to hear. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Happy to elaborate further or discuss potential ideas that you have. With that said, I wish you a great afternoon and thank you very much.